Welcome back, and over the next couple of days, our obsession with space will go to another degree as history is unfolding in the skies as Indian origin astronaut Sunita Williams makes her return to Earth, hopefully safely aboard SpaceX Crew 9 after 9 months aboard the International Space Station. Her journey back is nothing short of breathtaking, re-entering the atmosphere at blazing speed, enduring intense heat, and finally splashing down off the coast of Florida.
So NASA's live coverage has begun, and we're going to be bringing you every single important moment. So right from the hatch closure and breaking down for you why that moment is so important to the undocking. This is a high-risk re-entry in the final splashdown that will finally take place. So let's very quickly walk you through everything that's going to take place in the next few hours.
Yeah.
All the times we're telling you are Indian times. So 10:15 a.m. we mean in just a little while from now. 10:15 a.m. IST, the SpaceX Crew 9 undocking. That entire process will begin. Crew 9 will be undocking. At 10:35 a.m., the undocking will be confirmed and the crew will actually officially leave ISS, which means they will be separated from all of the ISS supplies, which is why it's such an important step. 2:15 a.m. NASA's live broadcast for the re-entry will actually begin. So if you're up at night, if you're a space nerd, 2:15 is when to check out all of that coverage in the morning. 2:41 a.m. the deorbit burn will actually start. So that's that highly dangerous phase when re-entry begins, and you have to be very, very careful of pressure, temperature. That's that moment of focus. 3:27 a.m. the splashdown, as Sonal was saying, the splashdown into the waters, the capsule landing off the Florida coast, that takes place. And 5 a.m. NASA's official return to Earth press conference.
And if you don't want to wake up that early, all you have to do is log in to the TVC program tomorrow, because we'll be dedicating the entire show, largely the show, to what's exactly happening and how safely and hopefully all goes well with that touchdown as well. But what happens during this re-entry and why is it being talked about in this manner? Well, there is extreme heat. The capsule faces temperatures of over 1600 degrees Celsius, radio blackout, crew losses contact from several minutes as well. So that's this period of nervousness on we don't know what's happening. We'll of course have live coverage of all of that. The NASA tracker planes are there. They pick up visuals once the capsule actually enters lower atmosphere. Parachutes deploy, slowing down the descent for safe splashdown recovery. There are teams there which extract the crew and then conduct health checks as well. So what we are getting to know at this point is that if all is well, they will anyways be taken to a hospital for checkups and all of it. But what happens? And then the big question, for which we have Shrishti now joining us to take us through what exactly happened. Shrishti, very exciting times, very nervous times as well. I think the world is watching with bated breath on what happens to these two astronauts as they come back, and we've been waiting for their safe return back home for a while. But talk to us a little bit, not the complicated spacecraft bit, but about the health of these astronauts, which is of paramount importance. What happens to them when they've spent so much time up there, and how long will the recovery process really be?
Good morning, Toya and Sonal. So yes, definitely an exciting time. We all are waiting for the return of the two astronauts. So, like we discussed, it was an 8-month trip. So they thought, it was an 8-day long trip. That's what they thought, but it ended up becoming 9 months long. So, see, any extended stay in space renders you much more vulnerable to a lot of effects. So, one is, of course, the space radiation, which is always present. Nominal amount of radiation is always present. That's what the scientists tell us. But when you're staying in space for that long period of time, then it does tend to have some impact. A part of it can be recovered once you're back to Earth. We really don't know the amount of time it takes you to recover, but you do. But I think the most important impact is in the loss of your muscle density. It causes muscle atrophy because you're in microgravity, weightlessness for that long period of time. So that is why you see a lot of visuals of both the astronauts really exercising and trying to stay fit at the ISS. So the problem here is when I spoke to scientists, they say that the space agencies rarely make this data available. You know, once the astronauts are back, what are their health parameters? So it's very difficult to say. But over the years, so many astronauts have stayed at the International Space Station that they have now really understood about the kind of health parameters that they really need to adhere to once they are there, and ensure that they are in their best of health. But yes, of course, there will be some effects which we'll get to know once they are back on Earth.
Right, they basically forget that gravity is the thing, it's not their fault. So they don't realize, you know, anytime they're picking up or dropping something that it's going to fall once they return to Earth. We were also talking about baby feet and the fact that your feet go very, very soft when you've been up in space for that long. Let's just very quickly tell our audiences the visuals you're looking at right now are coming in live. Shrishti, that's our next question to you. What's taking place right now? You know, we use these complicated words. There's a de-hatching process taking place right now. After that, what we're going to see happen is we're going to see the docking, and so all of that is going to happen. Shrishti, that's right now 8:15. The hatch stuff is taking place, and then in a little while you have the dock stuff taking place. That's the simple way to tell our audiences.
Yes.
But what does any of that mean? Break it down for our audiences, because this is a very, very important stage.
And you know, if you think of it, on Earth time, it's almost 24 hours of preparation, 24-hour long flight to prepare yourself to go there and get down. That's a long, long time.
Because your life, Guru, if you make a slight mistake, Shrishti, why is this stage so important?
Indeed, indeed. So, see, NASA and SpaceX is ensuring that all the steps are, you know, they go as per the plan. That is where they are taking a little extra time. So, like they started the live feed around 8:15. So, 11 a.m. Indian Standard Time is when they are going to start the hatch.
Okay, I think we've lost our connection with Shrishti. We'll just try to re-establish it. We'll have her back here to explain
Connection
to us.
to space is solid, huh? Those pictures are still live with us.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate she can break down for us, because it's all very
Yeah.
complex scientific terms that we're using here, and it's so important to have someone who can break down exactly what's taking place and why it's so important. We do want to point out, because we're going to be saying this a few times, Sunita, Williams, Butch, Wilmore, obviously they didn't plan to stay up there for 9 months, and now it's become a 9-month plus journey. But it's important to point out that there have been others who have stayed in space longer than them. So they haven't in any way created that record, but yes, in the sense that it was unplanned entirely, that they have had to deal with that psychological worry of kab wapas aayenge, New Year's ke liye, Christmas ke
I'm
liye.
worried about families. And
that is
and can I
being
just
huge.
say, the attitude with which they've approached this has been so super.
Yeah.
The videos that we've been getting of Sunita Williams, the way she went there, trying to approach a crisis with that smile on your face, just loved it, right? Like that's what stories are really made of. That's what really makes your day and makes your life. So it's absolutely lovely. Makes us want them to be back safe and sound and share their stories even more. But enough of us gushing over what's really happening in space. Let's tell you a little more. Now, there have been months of uncertainty, of course, and finally the time has come when they will be hitting back Earth, hopefully safely. But how did they survive the space for so long? And what happens when they actually land? Our next report takes you inside their 9-month-long ordeal and the final countdown to their return. Sit back and enjoy.
For 9 months, 2 astronauts have been waiting for a way home. Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore stuck aboard the International Space Station after their return spacecraft was deemed too dangerous to fly. Now, after months of waiting, the countdown to Earth has finally begun. But how did they survive? What challenges did they face? And what happens when they finally land? A moment of history. Williams and Wilmore became the first crew to fly Boeing's Starliner spacecraft, a test mission to prove its capabilities as an alternative to SpaceX's Crew Dragon.
Well, let's put some fire in this rocket.
But just hours after launch, the problem started. Thruster failures, helium leaks, propulsion malfunctions. By the time they reached the ISS, NASA engineers had already decided Starliner was too unsafe for the journey back. With no alternative, Williams and Wilmore were told to wait. Wait for a rescue, wait for a new spacecraft, and wait to return to Earth. Surviving in space is not just about patience. It's about fighting the effects of microgravity, isolation, and radiation exposure every single day. To counteract these effects, they worked out for 2.5 hours daily, a rigorous routine designed to keep their bodies strong enough to survive Earth's gravity when they return. But even exercise couldn't help them escape one of the biggest challenges: mental endurance. Space is isolating. For 9 months, Williams and Wilmore were forced to adapt, not knowing when they'd come home. They spent Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's all away from their families.
So from all of us to all of you, Merry Christmas!
The ISS crew tried to keep morale high, celebrating birthdays, playing music, and even floating around a Christmas tree made of food cans. But nothing could change the uncertainty. Would they be stuck for another month? Another year? Every morning they waited for news. Every week, NASA delayed their return again. Then, on March 17th, the moment they had waited for finally arrived. SpaceX Crew 10 docked at the ISS. Their replacements had arrived. For Williams and Wilmore, this was their ticket home. They would board the Crew Dragon capsule, undock from the ISS, and begin a fiery descent back to Earth. The hardest part of the mission isn't over though. Re-entry speeds exceed 25,000 kilometers per hour. Extreme G-forces will push their bodies to the very limit. After months in microgravity, standing up will be nearly impossible. As soon as they land, NASA's medical teams will rush to their aid. Their return will mark the end of one of NASA's longest astronaut stays on the ISS. But it will also raise big questions. Is Boeing's spacecraft safe enough for future missions? Should NASA rely solely on SpaceX for astronaut transport? Can these failures be fixed before future Mars missions? NASA has already announced a full investigation into the Starliner's failures. Meanwhile, Sunita, Williams and Butch Wilmore will spend the next few months recovering, undergoing intensive medical testing to understand the long-term effects of their unexpected 9-month mission.